watched as our little world slowly went up in flames. Our sins of sloth, greed, and pride buried the hatchet on that night's all-too-predictable outcome. Our failure to utilize our abundance of knowledge left us in a state of ruin in the world's darkest hour. The flames of our mistakes slowly spreading from tile to tile, engulfing everything that stands. Thankfully, the fire ignored the things we haphazardly dumped on the ground, meaning this was only a minor setback in our journey. But before we could relax, we had a race against time. Next door was a catalog of love seats and side tables we needed to procure in order to make our toasted patio in the sky a little more comfortable and safe. If we had waited for daylight, it would all be gone already. We pushed out against the burning embers and frozen winds, making our way through the ashy maze of our own creation to save what little we could. When we finally went to sleep that night, we could account our losses easily. A full container of water and an old dining room chair. When the sun finally arose behind the screaming storm, the ashes had mostly settled. The fire itself stayed contained to a small sublet of buildings, meaning we didn't accidentally burn down the pawn shop we were working towards. We were greeted by a small patrol of dead, bringers of gifts. A magazine, a box of 9mm, and a container of beta blockers were our presents.
God, it's so cold. Negative 90 degrees.
We set fire to our forward camp to warm up, when an oddity in the frozen ashy haze drew our eye. She hung there, unfazed by the passing tides of action, a beacon of hope in an abyss of despair. After warming up, we went back to recover the water dispenser from our halfway house, gather up all the firewood we left there. The temperatures dropping lower and lower, we were going to need every last bit of it to survive through the winter. We investigated our perimeter and found the fire had spread to the next closest building, which didn't really matter. Our eyes were set on the pawn shop now and seeing exactly what the future had in store for us. The street was absolutely overrun with multiple sprinters mixed in with the mess. There was no way we could deal with such a horde safely when we barely had an hour before we were frozen to the core. We'd have to wait for things to warm up a little bit and chisel away at them piece by piece. For now, we do what we could to survive. We gathered the unburnt clothes and ripped them to shreds for tailoring experience, as well as for fuel for our fire. We opened our eyes to a new day, ready to make progress towards our goal, utilizing the pizza shop as a defense point to take on the horde.
Negative 99 degrees. This is not the day to do this.
Having only made it around the corner and already feeling the threat of frostbite, we decide the temperature is just too extreme to put ourselves on the front line. We retreat home to grab an axe and then attempt to gather more firewood to keep our flame burning hot. The trees directly next to our building seem to be ungatherable due to being burned down, so we'd have to travel a little further into the storm to get some more. We stop at home to warm up and dry off before we set out once again.
Ooh, batteries. I'll take those.
"9 a.m. Exactly 1 hour after we set out from home, and we were already soaked through in hypothermic and beginning to come down with cold. The depths of winter were weighing heavier than ever. Since we were going to be spending a lot of time indoors now, we decided to eat a bulk of our calories all at once to make us start gaining weight again. We would be rationing the few cans we had remaining out as long as necessary.
Well, we are facing some issues with this deep winter. It's just too cold to go outside. I just got 6 hours out of whatever toilet paper I had.
We could more or less travel one city block away from the fire, but any more would put us on a life or death situation with these extreme temperatures. Our food supply was dwindling. We had about a week's worth of food left, maybe more if we stretched it thin, and yet we still needed to keep our exercise routine in mind to make sure we were able to deal with the sprinters appropriately. Winter was proving to be a tedious revolution of getting soaked through and frozen to the core to get firewood, just so we could stay dry and warm inside. We set back to the office, attempting to gather a large amount of logs at once and water from the pond. It should be safe having cleared it out already. The undead had already reclaimed the area somehow. We needed to proceed with caution, not knowing the exact number of them crawling around out there. We killed off a few that caught our attention and had to retreat because of the cold. We had run out of fuel in our auxiliary fire. As the light from the clouds slowly vanished into the fog, we'd read about carpentry until we faded off to sleep. We were awoken in the early hours of the morning abruptly by the freezing wind's sudden entanglement. Our fire died from lack of fuel. Today's goals were to check out the pizza shop for any food, and of course get even more firewood. Inside the dilapidated pizza shop, we found only sadness. Rotten pizza everywhere, but not a single thing we could actually eat, all while the distant sound of car alarms carried across the winds, stirring the sleeping hordes.
What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Like hamsters stuck in a wheel, our path seemed to be leading us nowhere, endlessly pushing against the tides of fate that bind us. We used the clothes from the zombies for our auxiliary fire to quickly warm back up. We got a bit more fire than we bargained for. We were now on another time crunch. After we regained feeling in our fingertips, we marched back out into the storm to clear the area before the fire claimed all of our trees for its own. We fought away and collected firewood long into the darkness, until the moment our hand axe finally broke. When we returned home, we had about 2 days worth of fuel collected, but only a single wood axe remaining. We could repair the axes with duct tape if need be, but it would be way more beneficial if we could find some wood glue. We were sitting at a steady 83 weight after piling on the calories, nearly 2 months into our journey into Louisville. But if our progress continued to be hindered exponentially by the storm, it wouldn't be long until we were skin and bones again. We did everything in our power to tone our bodies and our minds, without risking inactivity from excessive exercising. Any progress was good progress, so long as we continued to improve. We opened our eyes to a new day, and relished in the nicotine flooding through our veins. We watched as the cigarette smoke swirled and dispersed into the icy cold draft blowing through the broken boards of our burnt down abode, and prepared ourselves for another harsh reality check. Once again, our perimeter was compromised with the Wanderers. We stopped at home to warm up, but one of the sneaky ones followed us home. hordes to the south, hordes to the north, and a frozen wasteland in between. By the time we finished clearing our perimeter, our clothes were soaked through and a nasty cold had taken hold. Our battle to survive the winter was only just beginning, and it felt like our goal of reaching the pawn shop and securing a more permanent residence were getting further and further out of reach. What could we do in the face of relentless, unstoppable Mother Nature? Mankind had unleashed a truly unforgiving plague onto this world, but that would have to wait until next time. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button. A like, favorite, or share is also greatly appreciated. If you have a suggestion for a future challenge, please let me know about it down below or by joining the Discord. Thanks and have a wonderful one.